What is going on YouTube? It is Jake coming at you with yet another video on the advent of cyber. If y'all don't recall, we are doing the TryHack Me's Advent of Cyber challenge, which means there is a challenge every day from December 1st to the 25th. We've successfully gone on ahead and done the first 3 challenge. Today is December 4th, so that means that we're going to be doing the 4th challenge. And let's open up the prompt and see what we have going on. So day 4, Santa's running behind. It's going to be a web exploitation challenge. McSysAdmin managed to reset everyone's access except Santa's. All right, McSysAdmin, you're doing great, but we have the commander-in-chief, and we need to get him back online. He's going to be super mad. Kids are going to be super unhappy. We need to get this stuff back online. Santa's expected some urgent travel itinerary for his route over Christmas, of course. Rumor has it that Santa has never followed the password security recommendations. Okay, Santa, I know you're the big honcho and you think you're the stuff. You think you're the man, but come on, we gotta do password security. So can you use brute forcing to help him access this account? Okay, so I guess it's gonna be okay. So essentially Santa is locked out of his account and we need to log him back in, but he doesn't use password recommendations, password security recommendations, so I guess we can brute force in and help him out. We're not doing anything bad, ladies and gentlemen. We are doing good. We are doing good. We are hacking Santa and saving Santa. So that is the mission today. The learning objectives. So we're going to be understanding what fuzzing is and what Burp Suite is, and we're going to apply this knowledge to retrieve Santa's travel itinerary. Okay, that's great. Y'all are watching this video right now, which means we do not need to talk about these things, although it might be good to talk about fuzzing real quick. So simply put, fuzzing is automated means of testing an element of a web application until the application gives a vulnerability or valuable information. So what this means, what it applies to the problem that we have right now, we need a password. We need to, find the password of Santa. It's as simple as that. That is one piece of information, and I think where we're going with this is automatically testing until we find his password. That is what the fuzzing is. And to do that, we're going to be using software called Burp Suite, and this is the siege equipment for us cybersecurity professionals when it comes to the web. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're raiding a castle back in the 1800s, you bring your catapults, you bring your siege equipment, you're ready to stake out and take the castle. And that is what Burp Suite is for us. It is going to be that catapult that launches us into the castle walls. And yeah, hacks the website for us. So we're going to be using Burp Suite. That is great. And let's talk about how this is going to work as a siege. They have great resources here talking about how it's going to work, but we'll scroll down and we'll do this as we go. So we're going to access the login form at this web address. Okay. So we're going to come over here. This is my in-browser hack box, docs hack, something like that. As you can see here, it's just a VM essentially. And we are at the website, hanging out. Just hanging out. It's Santa's travel itinerary. And we wanted to hack into the user Santa, okay? And if I wanted to do this, if I wanted to find out what Santa's password is, I could. He said he doesn't use the best password policy, so I could guess his name, his last name, maybe his wife, his college. You keep going in here until you find what the password is. That's cool. That takes an eternity, but we are going to use software to help us find out what that password is in an automated way, and that is where Burp Suite comes into play. Now, we talked about Burp Suite being a siege weapon, and that is exactly what it is. This is the Burp Suite software. This is the community edition. There is a professional edition as well, which costs money, but the community edition is free, which is why we're using it. And we're going to use it as a proxy. And so essentially what this proxy is going to allow us to do is forward all the traffic between myself and the web server will have to go through Burp Suite first. So essentially when I turn on my proxy, it's going to go from the web server to Burp Suite and then to me, and then back to Burp Suite, back to the website, and we can use this line of communication, and eventually only use Burp Suite to launch attacks on the web server. So how do we get this to work? Well, we're going to use proxy settings in our browser. I have an extension here for Foxy Proxy, which essentially is pretty sweet. You can configure your proxy and just with the click of a button turn it on and turn it off. So we're going to turn it on. But if you didn't have Foxy Proxy, if you're on Windows or Mac, Linux without it, you would come into your settings on Firefox, on Chrome. You'd go to your network settings, your proxy settings, and you would want to say, okay, let's do a manual proxy configuration. You would use your host address, which would be the 127.0.0.1, and I'm pretty sure the default port is going to be 8080, but you might need to just look into your Burp Suite settings and find out what that proxy port is. So, like I said, we have our settings on right now for Burp Suite. Sweet, it's great. We're documenting traffic. So what does this mean? Intercept is on. You're like, okay, I'm intercepting traffic. So what does that look like? Well, that looks like here, if I type in a password, I'm just going to say password. It might be password. That's a good first guess. I click login here. You'll notice that it's loading in the top corner. It's going to be forever loading. It's never going to load. And wow, there's like a little red siren there. I wonder if that's how Burp Suite works. So let's look at this. So intercept is on. I just intercepted this request to HTTP 10.10.120, well, yeah, whatever, the IP address that is here. You can see that it is a post request, the host, all this information, but at the very bottom, we see this fun information down here, which is the username Santa, password, submit, login. So that looks like, the post request form that we just made and that we're sending. Okay. And so technically, we have the option to forward, to dropped, and we have this action button over here. So there's some fun things we can do. And you can see what is so sweet about Burp Suite. It's a suite of tools. And you can see there's the intruder, the repeater, the sequencer. So we have all these weapons, these tools that we can use to, launch our siege on the website, essentially. We're going to war, ladies and gentlemen. And the tool we want to use is the intruder tool. There are so many things here. This video is not going to cover them all. It's just going to cover the intruder. So what we're doing here is we're taking this packet, we're capturing it, and we are going to send it to the intruder software that is within Burp Suite. We come over here and we can see the attack target is the host and the port. And if we look over at positions, we see that we can look at all this information, and we have these fun little buttons here, which are essentially tokens. And did I say tokens? I meant variables. So we kind of have these weird symbols, which allow us to, I guess, automate and change. It can treat that segment like a variable. It kind of makes like, okay, from here to here, that's a variable that we can change automatically. So it'll make more sense when we actually do it, I believe. We'll get rid of the tokens for the Santa, the submit, because we don't want these to change. We want these to be static. We also want the PHP session to also be static. So this means that what we're doing here is we're essentially making it static. We're making the entire packet static, except for this one password variable in between the two, whatever those symbols are. They're very unique symbols. And I tried to figure out how to zoom in Burp Suite, but I wasn't having any luck. So I hope that y'all can still, kind of get a short snippet of what's going on here. If we go to the payloads now, we will want to, add a list of passwords to use, kind of like in challenge 3 when we were using Dirbuster to automate through a list of all the content on the website. We want a giant list of potential passwords to use and query against on this website, on this form. And I think if we go back to the challenge, they kind of give us a list of passwords to use. if this was not a challenge, and if it was like, you know, use a list of passwords, what I would use personally is this thing called rocku.txt. It is a word list that essentially has all the, you know, most common 20,000, 200,000, you know, words. Very useful, it's fun. It's fun to look at because you're like, is my password on that list? It makes you think sometimes. So, okay, that was from a previous video. So let's go back here. We know that we're going to be looking for a word list on day 4, passwords.txt. We open it up and we see we have some passwords we're going to try. Christmas, elves, Santa, festive. Okay, cool. So we are kind of ready to launch this attack, I believe. We could also, I think, you know, we could mess with the default settings and make it use requests per second, use a couple threads if you wanted to go that route. But I think this is going to be okay. There's only, you know, 15 passwords we're going to be using. So let's review real quick. We have our password, we have our list. Now let's start the attack and see what happens. Okay, some functionalities available. The attacks are throttled. Beautiful. So it's going to be a little slow, but like you said, only 15 passwords. If this was the rocku file of like 20,000, this would be a problem. So we click OK, and we see that we're trying, we're basically, you know, forcing our packets onto the server, and we're getting a status back as well as, you know, some bytes and some information back. So how do we tell if any of these worked? And that's interesting. You're gonna get a 200 status each time, because you think, you know, like if I send something that's incorrect, it would send maybe like a 404 or something else. But because you're trying a password, that's okay. If you get it wrong, it's gonna send you back to a different page, the same page, and you're still gonna get that 200 status. It's gonna, the HTML is gonna work. However, if you were to maybe get the password right, and that would send you to a different application altogether, say you're logging in and it into like something on a Google API, and you log in and it takes you to xyz.com, so that would be a redirect, which would be status code 302. Another way that you could probably tell that this password worked over the other ones is looking at the length. I mean, if the response is the same for all these, it probably means that it was like the same, oh, you got the wrong message, wrong password, all, you know, 14 times in a row. So we have this one that is different. It has a different status, which means it redirected, and the length is different. So that gives me some thoughts that this could be the one that works. So how are we going to tell? Well, let's walk out of here. Let's turn this guy off, and let's stop the load, and let's type in cookie. Let's just type in cookie, and oh my goodness, it worked. It's freaking crazy, guys. Oh my goodness. So laying siege to websites. We're in the castle walls now. We're about to sack the kingdom for the glory of StarCoding. It's great. The faction is growing for all you Game of Thrones fans. All right, so let's complete this. So the password was cookie, and what was the flag? It was Santa delivers. Santa delivers. Also, if there are any Georgia fans watching this, today is the Saturday. I'm literally about to go watch this Georgia versus Alabama game. So let's see what happens. I hope y'all enjoyed this little clip talking about Burp Suite. And that's going to be it. Stick around for the next challenge, challenge number 5.